everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Techsheck. As always, trying to continue bringing you very unique and interesting stories from the Pakistan tech startup ecosystem. As some of you may have seen, we had a very eventful Bach launch conference. As you can see, attention is fully focused on this market, $250 million in the last year. Not a small sum, particularly for a place like Pakistan. And with that, I wanted to announce our next guest, and we have the pleasure of having with us Mr. Abrar Bajwa from Tazah Technologies. Abrar, welcome to the show.
Hi, Farouk. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. So, Abrar, as you know, Techsheck style, we try not to waste a lot of time, but I've met you only recently. So, great to learn a little bit about Abrar and Tazah. Tell us.
So I, in my most recent assignment, I was leading Swivel in Pakistan. Before that, I was a senior director at Careem. Before that, I spent about 10 years in the old world, as I say, in the L'Oreals and Nestle's of the world and ICIs of the world. My co-founder has spent about 4 years in Careem. He was the one who actually orchestrated the liftoff of Careem in Pakistan. He built the business ground up, and he's also somebody who I know as a very good friend and who's also sort of vision aligned with the problems that we're trying to solve here.
Awesome. So tell us more about Tazah.
Tazah is at scale and as a vision. It's an operating system that is which will determine how the agriculture and food supply chain works in Pakistan and outside. The current supply chain and the current way of business is extremely inefficient, and it leads to poor outcomes for both farmers and businesses who are at the two ends of the supply chain. And what we're building will create lasting dividends for both producers and businesses. And that's the larger aim that we're solving for. In its current shape and form, Tazah is a B2B marketplace for fresh produce, where we deliver fresh produce to small and large retailers in Lahore. As a future vision, we plan to backward integrate and build a virtuous cycle wherein all the stakeholders win.
Very interesting. Oh, very cool. Well, I think it's interesting because I know there's a couple of different players that have stepped in. I've actually had them on the show. So Mandi Express, and I know there's another player out of Karachi that's more in the production side, but also trying to bring sophisticated bloom. They're called. They're doing sophisticated vegetables, things that you don't normally find in Pakistan. So based on that, how do you see all this shaping up in terms of the market?
Agriculture industry has remained mostly unattended for a long period of time. Mm-hmm. It's a very large space. We're talking about more than $60 billion in size, 20% of our GDP, 40% of our workforce being involved in this one way or the other. It's a very large space, and I think the more players that come into this, the better it's going to become, because it eventually is going to require an ecosystem. As I say, it's going to require a village to solve all the problems that exist in this space, and build something that solves for the many and not for the few. So as far as like who we see as our competition or how we see the other players developing in this, I think the only competition that we see is the offline market that exists today. Right. Everybody else is just adding more value and accelerating the solving of this very complex problem.
Okay, no, good to hear. Good to hear. And as far as what are some of the core structural things that you're trying to address?
So it's basically, the inefficiency that exists in the supply chain today. So a farmer generally, on average, in Pakistan makes 25% of the final retail price of the good. For example, if you buy a kg of mangoes for 160 rupees or $1, the farmer makes 25 cents on that dollar, right? And the rest is either lost due to wastages, due to multiple logistics and warehousing legs, due to rent seeking by some of the middlemen, and just lost because of poor incentive alignment in the process, right? So what we're solving for is the value that is locked within the $60 billion value chain. We're trying to add more value for the farmer. We're trying to add more value for the businesses, and also creating some value for the shareholders in the process.
Got it. Got it. And all of this is through a technology that you're developing or have developed.
It's going to be a tech-enabled operating system. In its at scale, the sophisticated technology or the operating system would orchestrate a very complex supply chain, which includes tens of thousands of businesses, tens of thousands of farmers, geographically dispersed all over Pakistan, performing complicated tasks such as scheduling, performing complicated tasks such as pricing and demand-supply forecasting. So at the end of the day, it's going to require a very sophisticated, technology stack to solve this very complex problem.
Got it. And what about funding? Where are you guys in that whole cycle?
So we've recently closed our pre-seed round. It's yet to be announced. There's some paperwork that needs to be closed, but we've recently closed our round, and hopefully we should be able to announce this within a couple of weeks.
Great. Okay, good. Good timing then. Yeah. And as you know, we try to keep Techsheck relatively brief. This was very interesting and really appreciate you coming on the show. What can the diaspora do?
I think, like I said, it takes a village to solve complex problems. We are looking for great talent, and the diaspora can help in sort of either referring great people to us, or if somebody wants to really join, we'd be happy to take people on. In terms of everything else, it's what we're trying to solve requires multiple partnerships to exist. So if anybody is in the production space, if anybody is in the buying space, if anybody sort of can sort of help us brainstorm on how we solve these problems day in, day out, if there are like experts in the area, we'd be happy to speak to them. And I think that's where we mainly need our help.
Excellent. Well, that's wonderful. Again, thanks, Abrar, for coming on. Really appreciate that. As you know, we've come to the end of our time.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
And to our audience, as you can see, continually new, unique, interesting plays. The ecosystem's growing. This is good for us economically, gives us a lot more viability. Like, share, subscribe. Please share our message. We're trying to bring positivity to a challenging environment. And with that, I bid you all Allah Hafiz.